Now, my new book, The Enemies Within, Communists, Socialists and Progressives in the US Congress. Now, to do a book like that, in this day and age, you'd have to be pretty confident on your sources if you didn't want to be laughed out of the country, wouldn't you? So there's 5 years of research in this book, 700 pages, 80 pages of documentation of references. The first book, Barack Obama and the Enemies Within, that was nearly 700 pages. And I got real sick of lugging that around the country, I'll tell you. It's heavy, real heavy. And I swore the next book was going to be smaller, but it's actually bigger because those bloody commies just kept on coming. You know, no matter where I looked, you know, you have so many Marxists and Socialists in your Congress, it's just not funny. Now the book is really about the two big secrets of modern communism. The first secret, I think they borrowed from the devil, because we all know that the cleverest thing the devil ever did was to convince people he doesn't exist. And what have the Marxists done in recent times, folks? They don't exist, right, for most people? If they do, they're no longer a threat. Ain't true, unfortunately. But the other big secret of communism, and this has hardly been touched in the thousands of pages, thousands of books written on the subject, hardly ever touched. The big secret of modern communism is the ability of a tiny Marxist-Leninist party, maybe only a few hundred comrades strong, to infiltrate and influence and even control the legislative process in their country. So what I'm saying here, folks, is less than 20,000 card-carrying communists in your country are dictating the legislative process that controls 300 million Americans. That's a very small tail wagging a very big dog, right? It's pretty hard to believe, isn't it? 20,000 of these people writing the laws that govern you. But I just ask you, could, you know, and when these guys, you know, every now and then, some communist somewhere will stand for public office, and they'll get 50 votes or 180 votes or something, and people laugh at them. How could these guys be any threat whatsoever? But I ask you to consider, it's not just, is it always the number of votes you get that determine your level of political influence? How many votes did Al Capone ever get in Chicago? Telling me he didn't run that town? How many votes does the mafia get in Sicily these days? Telling me they don't run that province? No? Vote fraud, corruption, intimidation, indoctrination, secret backroom deals, bribery, corruption. There's a whole bunch of ways that small covert groups can manipulate much larger groups. That's what Marxism-Leninism is all about. That's the science of it. The Marxism stuff is rubbish and largely abandoned, but the Leninism is very, very effective. That is the science of taking and holding power. And these guys have had a lot of practice. Less than 2,000 Bolsheviks took over Russia in 1917, a country at the time of 140 million people. These guys have had 100 years to refine their techniques, and they're pretty darn good.